Today I'll be looking at the first physically modeled electric bass, MODO Bass by IK Multimedia. Boasting unmatched realism, performance, and limitless bass sound possibilities, can MODO Bass really provide all that it claims to? Well, before I answer that, let's take a closer look at this virtual instrument. MODO Bass comes with a ton of different models of basses. All right, I'll just quickly jump through a couple. So if I go to the beginning right here, we got a 60s P bass, 70s P bass, 70s J bass, modern jazz bass. You got something like a Stingray here. You got something like a Rickenbacker. This studio bass kind of reminds me of like a Yamaha Tier B kind of series. You got that violin bass, something, you're trying to do a Beatles kind of vibe, vintage, thunder bass for that rock, like lots of cool basses. 12 in total. That already is awesome. Like, to have that vast array of just different models to choose from is great. It's a good starting point, for someone who's just new to this and they just want to pick something like, okay, I just want a modern jazz bass, ready to go. So off the bat, that's awesome. Cool. So from here, we can move to the play style. A lot of cool things to change in here. So you can go finger style, pick, or slap. I'll just give you a quick idea of what that sounds like. I'm just going to jump to a preset I made before, which is another cool thing you can do in this thing. And they also provide a ton. Like, just check out all these presets that it comes with. And the first three are based on the play styles. So you got some for finger, pick, and slap. Then you got the extreme. These have some really cool effects to them. And here's the one that I made called My Jazz. It's just a 70s jazz bass with some tweaks, right? So let's listen to finger style. So that's finger. Let's go to pick. And one cool thing you could do with this is turning on let ring and open string, so you get that kind of ringing sound. Definitely, like, if you want to do rock. That kind of vibe. So let's turn off the ringing and the open string. And then you got slap. That's slap. So right off the bat, you get some really cool play styles to use, adding some realism to your sound, especially if you're tracking with this or you're using this for live performance. The next up, you got muting, so you can add a bit of muting to the overall sound of your play style. So say for instance on finger style, that's like a muted finger bass. So that's pretty cool. With it off, now with it on. So that's cool. And you can also mix with the stroke. So you can choose, oh, I only want to use index finger, I only want to use the middle finger, or just alternate between both. I can go with normal touch, harder touch, or soft touch. I'm just going to leave it on soft for now. And I already demonstrated letting the strings ring, having that open string. So if you're, playing like a A, E, D, G, or B, you get that open string vibe. And for fingering, this will be your first position, or, easy, or whatever's nearest. And this affects, how it sounds when you're jumping from note to note. So if you're going with your first position, it's going to be a little bit cleaner as opposed to, maybe easy or nearest, where you're kind of moving a bit less. All right. And then you have detach noise and slide noise. Again, these are just some effects to the play style that add more realism to the sound. So let's jump to strings. Right now I have it set to 5 strings, but you can also go with 4. So E will be our lowest, and it goes all the way up to a high D. Yeah. And you can also go with drop D tuning, which is cool. So still got your high D there, but then you end with a low D. So that's cool. We're going to go back to 5. And if you notice on the string section, you can also customize the action. So right now we have it set to standard. You can also go high, which kind of pulls the sound away a bit, in my opinion. And then you got low, which if I have a couple of actual basses that I have set to a lower action, you'll get fret noise and, that kind of percussiveness. They managed to get this, which is crazy. So I'm just going to go up the scale chromatically. You hear that? That fret noise? Hear that? That's crazy. That's cool. And then you have standard, which we started out with. You can also customize the string type. So you can go with round wound. And you also have flat wound. So you definitely hear the different quality and character in the sound. This is cool. You can also mess with the gauge of your strings. So right now we're at medium gauge. And you can also get heavy. And you also have light gauge. So I'm just going to go back to medium. And this is interesting. You can also mess with the age of the strings. So right now we have it set to broken in, but you can also get old. Makes it a bit duller, you gotta kind of pluck it harder to get more life out of it. They're a little dead. And you also have new, definitely much brighter. go back to broken in. So broken in is almost, to me, a little bit of both. Get a little bit of that old sound. We also get a bit of that brightness. And then also, you can also mess with the A4 reference. So if you want to go for a vintage sound, you want to, maybe go slightly out of tune, you can do that. So say, for instance, I change that to 450 instead of 440, which is middle C. You can hear it slightly out of tune. That's supposed to be C. That's definitely not C. So let's put it back to 440. But again, if you're going for realism, you want to go for an old school style, you might want to go maybe slightly out of tune. And there we are. We're back at 440. All right, let's jump to the electronics. This gets quite interesting. So this is where you can mess with the pickups and the electronics of your bass. So right now, for our bridge pickup, we're using 70s jazz bass pickup, and same thing for the neck. But if I wanted to, again, based on all those 12 basses we have, I can be like, oh, let's get 70s P bass pickup on the back, on the bridge. Or I can be like, no, let's go with this Stingray 5. That definitely changes the character. So let's say I want keep that on the back, and on the neck pickup, let's go with the Japan. So it definitely gives you different options to play around with. So if I wanted to go with, let's say, a Rickenbacker on the front, 60s P on the back. So that's pretty cool. I'm going to go back to my 70s jazz on both. Cool. And just like on a real bass, if you notice, they have volume settings for each. So that's cool. So you can dial in the tone you want. And you also have a piezo if you need a little bit more clarity in your top end. And for the circuitry, you can go active or passive. Right now I'm active, so I get a 3-band EQ here, bass, middle, treble. And if I go passive, I get my tone blend. So right now, let's listen to passive, and I'm just gonna roll this off a little bit. So that will be much more drastic when we switch. So this is gonna be the passive. So let's switch to active. So that's pretty cool. So already you should be seeing ways you can sculpt and mold your sound. So let's jump to the amp effects section. In here, we get 2 amps. We get a tube amp, which I'm using right now, and you also get a solid state amp. So cool. And if you know IK Multimedia, they created this amp modeler called Amplitude. You might have heard of it. This is kind of a little bit of that. You get a little bit of these amps, so that's cool. And in these amps, you know, the usual suspects that you expect from a tube amp or a solid state amp. So on the tube amp, you get your gain, you get your bass, mid frequency selector, treble, punch, harmonics, your amp level, direct input level, and your master. So that's your tube amp. And let's jump to solid state. So here you can see you get gain, bass, mid, treble. You also get a graphic EQ, limit button, and same as before in the tube amp, you get your amp level, direct input, master. So with the graphic EQ, again, you get more room to mold your sound. So in this case, if I, you know, maybe go for a scoop as opposed to this kind of shape we had before, I'm just gonna quickly do a scoop. Don't judge my scoop, guys. I'm just throwing something really quick together. All right, so say that's the scoop I went with, and I just want to bump up my mids maybe just a little more. All right, so say that's the scoop. So already you're seeing the sounds changing, and we have again the 3 bands here, so I can just a little bit of bass, maybe not so much mid here, and a teensy bit of treble. So let's jump again between both. So back to the tube that's my preset. Let's go back to the solid state that we just messed around with. So you can see they have their different characters. So depending on what you're going for, you can definitely get some cool ideas out of this thing. All right, so if you notice, the section says amp effects. So far we've only looked at amps, so let's look at the effects side of things. So if you notice right here at the bottom of our amp, whichever one we have selected, doesn't matter, you'll notice that there's a little stomp box pedal board thing kind of going on here. So if you notice, there are 4 of them, so at any given time you can have 4 effects going on. So if I just click on one of these, just so we can get to the effects section, over to the left here, you can see your pedal board. Right now, in our signal chain, by default, we have compressor, graphic EQ, octaver, envelope filter. Right now, only the compressor is on, and the way you can tell is because it's highlighted. So if you want to turn it off, just click it. So now it's not on. Turn it on, you click it. So, like I said, you can have 4 effects going on right now. Right now, you can see my other 3; they're not on. But again, just with a click, if I want to turn on that envelope filter, just click it. So that's cool. So far I've only shown 4 effects. You have access to 7. So, say for instance, in this case, we have the graphic EQ in our chain, and I'm like, I don't need a graphic EQ. That's fine. I just hit this drop down here, and then I have access to all those 7 effects. So you have an octaver, pretty self-explanatory. You get distortion, chorus, compressor, delay, envelope filter, graphic EQ. So those are all the effects you have available. So in this case, I'm going to go with a little bit of delay. I'll bring the feedback down a little bit. I'll bring up the time, bring up the wet. And it's on. And I'll turn on the envelope filter and I'll turn off the compressor. So right now I should have my delay active and my envelope filter active. So again, a lot of possibilities here. If you're tracking with this, you might not want to use your effects here, and you might want to do it in your DAW. Again, you have as much freedom to do whatever you want. Just quickly let you hear what the octaver sounds like. It just adds an octave on the top, the bottom. There you go. That's what the octaver sounds like. And each effect has their parameters you can mess with to your heart's content. Go to town. All right. So that's the effects section. Cool. So last but not least, in these tabs that we got here, we got the control section. This is where things get really fun. So at the top here, you see all these articulations that we have available. I've been using them. So for instance, you got bend, you have slide, you can adjust the range of the slide, you got vibrato, you can adjust the rate of the vibrato, muting, pluck position, left hand, legato slide, chord, master. All of these are available. And what's cool about this is that you can actually assign these however you like, whether via Midi CC, control change messages, and you can do it using this Midi learn feature. So I'm not going to do it now because I like my settings right now, but basically you just hit learn, and on whatever Midi device you're using, you just hit the button or the key that you want to use to send that message, like to do whatever. If I want to bend, hit learn, pick the button or key that I want to use for that. There you go. And that's how you do it. So really cool feature. So I'm just going to show you in real time. For instance, we have slide set to my pitch wheel. So I'm moving my pitch wheel in real time, and it's doing that. I have my vibrato set to my mod wheel. Cool. And if you look at the bottom here with this keyboard, you notice we have a key switch map. So if you notice, you see finger, pick, slap, just like the play styles, finger, pick, slap. So on the fly, by hitting these key switches, I can change the play style. So right now we're on finger, which is what I selected here. But on the fly, I can just jump back and forth. So if I want to go to pick, I can just hit G sharp. And I can go to slap by hitting A sharp. And then I can go back to finger just by hitting F sharp. Right? So that's cool. If you notice, we also can, depending what play style you choose, so I'm on finger now, I can even control what finger. So if I go to pick, I can control the upstroke. So I'm on D sharp now. So that's just upstroke. I can also do downstroke. And then I can do both. So I'm doing that in real time. So that's cool. Same thing with finger style. I can choose, I just want the index finger. And I can choose to go middle. And then I can alternate. So that's cool. I also can do ghost notes. So if I hit A sharp, I get my ghost notes. And then if we just quickly look at the white keys, you notice if I hit A1, I can let it ring. If I want to force a B string, I can hit B1. If I want to hammer on, pull off, I can hit like C0. So here's just a regular transition between strings. And if I turn on that hammer on or pull off, I really get that stringy, fret noisy sound, you know, like when you do a hammer on. So that's cool. And I can force D string, E string, G string, A string, or B string. So really it's just about getting that overtone of a particular note. So sometimes when you're playing bass, you might be hitting a specific note, but because one of the other strings might be slightly open, you get a little bit of that noise in there. Again, just a little layer of realism. So I'm just going to play two notes. And then I'm just going to force the E string. Sorry. There we go. So you just get that little bit of overtone. So I'll play it again by itself. Then forcing that E string. So you just get a little bit of that overtone. So depending on what key you do, that's forcing the A string, forcing that G string. So you get a lot of options for realism going with that. And if I hit F as 0, that triggers harmonics. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, this is fantastic for, you know, if you're trying to do some live performance. You can just do things on the fly. You know, you can be playing finger, then slap, pick, back to finger. So really cool stuff. So now in closing, what I personally feel about MODO Bass, it's in a class of its own, but there's still a lot of things that can be improved. So I'll start with play style. In my honest opinion, I think that the play styles, the velocities are still too aggressive. I know in the settings you do have the velocity curve that you can mess around with, but even I played around with that for a bit, and I'd use a soft touch, and it still feel like I've been using the soft touch for pretty much all of this demo. I feel it's still a bit too aggressive, you know? Normal. So I don't know if we need maybe another, maybe light. I don't know, maybe. I just feel that soft to me should be normal. And then the normal should be hard, and then the hard should be like aggressive. I feel like we just need another lower velocity. Pick style, I'm pretty happy with pick style. Not a lot of complaints. If you're doing rock style, anything that requires a pick, I think you're gonna be fine. So not much to say about pick style. Slap, I feel there's still a little bit of work that needs to be done with slap. I don't feel that realism for me. Like it's getting there, but it's not 100% there. So for me, slap, I don't know if I'll be using a lot of it, but finger style definitely is good. You know, just make those little tweaks with the velocity. Pick, perfect. Slap, I don't think it's there yet. With regards to strings, I'm really happy with strings. I just have one little gripe. It'd be awesome to have more tuning options for 5-string. It'd be nice to do maybe like tuning to flats with a 5-string. I know, like, especially R&B and gospel, a lot of guys tune to flats, so you get your B flat, E flat, A flat, you know, that kind of tuning. It'd be cool to have that option. Everything else is awesome. The action, it's great. Like, everything else is perfect. Just give us more tuning options for strings. Electronics to me, perfect. There's not anything I'd want to change. It's good for me. Amp and effects right now out of the box, really good. Again, like I said earlier, these guys made Amplitude, which is awesome amp modeler. The only thing I'd have to say is it'd be nice to have more integration with Amplitude. You know, maybe, I don't know what you'd call it, maybe Amplitude Light. You know, having the ability to maybe have some more amp choices, even if we have to buy them. So, you know, maybe you can try out an amp. You know, you get a specific trial period. You can be like, okay, I want an Ampeg SVT. I could try it out for 7 days, and then I gotta buy it. Like, that would be cool to have more options for amps, just so that we can make the sounds our own even more, you know, more unique, and maybe even closer to what we might use live. You know, it'd be cool to have more options. So that would probably be, with regards to amp and effects, my biggest issue. Another thing that would be cool, not really an issue, but something that could be added, it would be nice to have some IK Multimedia artist patches. So, you know, maybe Jordan Rudess comes up with some patches, Vernon Reed. You know, again, if we have more amp options, I think, you know, we can have some artist presets. It would be really cool to have. Again, we're provided with a lot, as I showed earlier, quite a ton, but hey, it's always cool to have more. And again, there's more room for things to sell. Like, I'm sure people won't mind buying, you know, a couple of extra patches if, you know, they're coming from some reputable artists, right? But aside from that, I'm good with that. Effects, with regards to the effects, I'm good with the effects. Control. Control right now as is. This is really good, but there are a couple of things I think can be improved that would take it to the next level. It would be nice to have the same MIDI learn feature that we have for all these articulations at the top. It would be nice to have the MIDI learn functionality for the key switches at the bottom. Right now, I have to be stuck with this configuration. So if I don't say I only wanted to use fingerstyle and I wanted to put, say, maybe I don't know, harmonics where pick is, and maybe put ghost note where slap is. Right now, I don't see that option to do that. If anyone knows how to do that, put it in the comments below. But I've tweaked with this thing for over 3 weeks. Haven't seen a way to do that. It'd be awesome to have that MIDI learn feature for the key switches. And then my other issue, which is probably the biggest issue I have right now with MODO Bass in general, I like to track bass with my left hand. I see no way in the application to move the key switches to the right side and have the playable area on the left. Right now, as it is, the key switches are on the left. So if you look at this little MIDI keyboard representation at the bottom, this grayed out area here, these are where the key switches are to the left, and then to the right, that's where the playable area is. But I want to play bass with my left hand and then do the key switches with my right. I don't see a way to do that. And I'm sure there's some lefties, and some righties that might want to alternate. So it would be cool to have that function. But aside from that, this thing gets the Quality Pro Review stamp of approval. Get it. It's definitely worth the money. With those little, improvements that I gave, I think it'll take it over the top. But overall, I'm happy with MODO Bass. It's awesome. So, if you like this video, hit the like button. If you're not subscribed already, hit that subscribe button. And hey, share. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one.